The news begins with the Court of Appeal in Abuja on Thursday overturning a federal high court judgment barring the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC from releasing the voter register to the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission for the recently concluded local government elections. Now delivering the judgment, a special panel led by Justice Onyekachi Otisi ruled that the federal high court lacked jurisdiction to hear the case. The panel explained that Section 28 of the Electoral Act applies only to federal governorship and area council elections in the Federal Capital Territory and not state-conducted local government polls. The court emphasized that the Electoral Act is not applicable to local government elections and the lower court lacked jurisdiction to entertain the suit. The Rivers local government appeal is one of the several cases filed by aggrieved parties challenging federal high court rulings. The National Assembly has amended the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Act, prescribing life imprisonment for drug offenders and traffickers. The decision came after the Senate and House of Representatives adopted the harmonized report on the NDLEA Act amendment. Senator Tahir Monguno, chairman of the Senate Conference Committee, stated that the stricter penalties aim to deter illegal drug activities. The Senate approved the amendment through a voice vote during Thursday's plenary session, presided over by Deputy Senate President Barau Jibrin. In addition, lawmakers passed the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission Bill 2024, which seeks to replace the RAMFAC Act of 2004. The proposed legislation is designed to enhance the agency's capacity to manage revenue allocation effectively. Both bills will now await President Bola Tinubu's assent to become law. The House of Representatives has rejected a bill proposing a single 6-year tenure for the president, state governors, and area council chairpersons. Sponsored by Ikenga Ugochinyere, representing Idiato North, Idiato South Federal Constituency of Imo State, alongside 33 others, the bill also sought to mandate rotational leadership. Now, this would alternate the presidency between the North and South regions and rotate governorship among the 3 senatorial districts in each state. The legislation aimed to amend Section 76, 116, 132, and 136 of the 1999 Constitution to promote inclusive governance and reduce the cost associated with 4-year electoral cycles. However, during Thursday's plenary, presided over by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, the proposal was rejected following a voice vote by the lawmakers.
I rise to move that a bill for an act to alter the provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended to provide for a single term of 6 years for the office of President and state governors, provide for the rotation of offices of President and state governors and chairman of local government council among the inherent regions and zones, and to provide that all elections be held on a single day to be read for a second time. I so move.
Those against, you say nay. The nays have it.
Staying with the parliament, the Senate has approved President Bola Tinubu's loan request of $2.2 billion to partially finance the 9.7 trillion naira budget deficit for the 2024 fiscal year. The Senate, presided over by Deputy Senate President Barau Jibrin, approved the loan after the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debts, chaired by Senator Wamako Magatakarda, APC Sokoto North, presented the report of the committee. The request, which was submitted by the President on Tuesday, is part of a fresh external borrowing plan to partially finance the 9.7 trillion naira budget deficit for the 2024 fiscal year. He further directed the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debts to expedite its review of the request and present a report within 24 hours. Although the deadline elapsed on Wednesday, the committee submitted its findings during Thursday's plenary, leading to the loan's approval.
Recommendations. The committee recommends that the Senate approval or Senate for approval for 1, the new Senate borrowing plan of 1.77 trillion naira, equivalent to $2.209 billion at 800 naira US dollar exchange rate, to be raised from Euro bonds, sovereign sukuk, and syndicated loans. Prioritizing of Euro bond issuance up to approved amount. 3, utilizing funds to exchange rate adjustment of 1,740 naira to US dollar for critical capital projects. 4, issue promissory notes and bonds to settle federal government liabilities and minimize debt servicing costs.
I commend the chairman of the committee, the Secretary General of Sokoto, and members of the committee for a job well done. The report is indeed well packaged and well properly articulated. Consider the fact that the job they had to do took them just 24 hours. This should have been something that would have taken longer time. They show sacrifice, you show sacrifice for the interest of the country by working around the clock to make sure that you get everything done. And not only done, but properly done. So we thank you very much, members of the committee. The chairman, you have done a wonderful job.
Meanwhile, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has strongly criticized President Bola Tinubu's recent 1.77 trillion naira loan approval, calling it bone-crushing and harmful to Nigerians. Now, in a post on his X handle, Atiku accused the administration of mismanaging loans, prioritizing corruption over development. He also slammed the National Assembly for approving the loans, saying that Nigeria is sinking further into debt. Atiku expressed dismay over the country's return to heavy borrowing, recalling efforts during the Obasanjo administration to clear foreign debts. He warned that Nigeria's ranking as the 3rd most indebted nation in the International Development Association highlights the risks of what he described as a dangerous loan frenzy. The National Economic Council has mandated the 3 states of Adamawa, Kebbi, Kwara, and the Federal Capital Territory to present their submission on state policing within the next 1 week. The council, which met in Abuja while receiving several memos on improving the nation's power crisis, tackling food security amongst others, agreed to present a consolidated position on state policing at its next meeting. Amadine Uyi reports.
The meeting was chaired by the Vice President Kashim Shettima. In attendance were state governors and stakeholders responsible for tackling Nigeria's economic decline. The forum deliberated on state police and received memos on efforts aimed at tackling food insecurity.
The State Police Council was updated with the submission of the establishment of state police, and it was reported that 33 states have submitted their positions, while 3 states are yet to do so. And these 3 states are Adamawa, Kebbi, and incidentally Kwara, which is the chairman of our forum. And the FCT are yet to submit their positions.
Council also received presentation from the National Coordinator of the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zones, SAPZ. As you are aware, this is a special agro development program by the federal government working with African Development Bank. And the pilot states, Kano, Imo, Kwara State, Kaduna State, Ogun State, Oyo State, Cross River State, and FCT under Phase 1.
Also, efforts aimed at improving Nigeria's power situation was deliberated, including efforts aimed at increasing current national revenue by relevant agencies in the country.
The Council resolved that Nigeria needs a reformed and diversified electricity system, apart from the one from National Grid. It further observed that by empowering states, accessibility and affordability of electricity can be enabled, ensuring that all regions can effectively meet their specific energy needs.
The implications of the underfunding were discussed, and the Council resolved that they appreciated the challenge being faced by the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, and directed the Secretariat to study the submission as regards to the quantum presented by the Revenue Mobilization and Allocation and Fiscal Commission, as well as the legality of the request.
The Council also highlighted funds available in Nigeria's excess crude account, stabilization account, and natural resources account. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
We now head to Lagos State, where Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu on Thursday presented a record-breaking 2025 budget proposal of 3,535,938,401 naira to the Lagos State House of Assembly, themed the budget of sustainability. Now, the proposed budget, which significantly surpasses the 2.3 trillion naira approved for year 2024, is designed to ensure continuity, resilience, and prosperity for Lagosians. Now, Governor Sanwo-Olu outlined 5 key focus areas, including infrastructure, sustainability, economic diversification, and institutional reforms. Speaking during the presentation, the governor emphasized that the budget is a practical framework aimed at positively impacting the lives of residents rather than a mere statement of intent. He also urged Lagosians to support the government's vision by actively contributing to the development of the state.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members of this House, I hereby present the highlights of the sectoral allocation of the 2025 budget. Under the economic affairs, a total of 908.699 billion naira is estimated. Under the environment affairs, a total of 233.176 billion. Under the health sector, a total of 204.005 billion. Under education, is a total of 208.376 billion. Under security, safety, and public order is a total of 124.073 billion. And under our social protection, it is a total of 47.077 billion naira. So, Speaker, as you will note, the budget size is made up of a recurring expenditure of 1.239 trillion, which is about 41%, and a capital expenditure of 1.766 trillion, which is 59%, which shows that it is a 41 overhead, recurring overhead, to a 59 capital expenditure project. The debt financing, which is within our fiscal sustainability parameters, we shall continue to live within those parameters, which consist of both external and internal loans and bonds.
Our correspondent, Chidimma Ona, who monitored the proceedings, now brings us more details.
The Lagos State House of Assembly was the stage for Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's presentation of the 2025 budget, with lawmakers and stakeholders keen to hear the administration's roadmap for the coming year. In his presentation, Governor Sanwo-Olu highlighted the administration's plans to expand road networks and improve drainage systems to combat the impact of climate change. Infrastructure need dominates the Lagos State proposed budget for 2025, pegged at 3.5 trillion. The proposed budget allocates 1.7 trillion to capital expenditure, representing 59%, and 1.2 trillion to recurrent spending, accounting for 41%. He also emphasized economic diversification by exploring the non-oil sector, job creation, and developing Lagos tourism potential to boost revenue. These and many others are the highlighted areas for change and improvement. The Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly commended the budget's focus and alignment with the aspirations of Lagosians.
The year 2025 budget is proposal 3, budget of sustainability, which is above the 2.3 trillion presented by government last year, is a confirmation of our commitment to sustainable development and economic growth.
Reactions from observers were positive as they expressed optimism about the ongoing progress and the prospects for the future.
It breaks it down how they are going to get the money, how through the tax revenue and federal allocation. So for me, it is a welcome budget, and I think it's going to help the Lagosians.
Whatever we bought like 2,000 naira some months ago, we are more or less buying like 3,000 now based on the exchange rate and all that, the economic downturn and the way things are. So I was even expecting something more than that. In fact, last year one was like 2.3. I was even expecting that we're going to be talking about 4.3 trillion this year.
As the 2025 fiscal year approaches, Lagosians will watch closely to see if the budget of sustainability truly delivers on its promise to create a better, more inclusive and resilient Lagos. In Lagos for News Central, I am Chidinma Ona.
To security matters now, the Nigerian Senate has called for the deployment of additional security personnel to bolster safety in Abadam and Marte local government areas of Borno State. During Thursday's plenary, lawmakers urged its committees on Army and Air Force to oversee the implementation of this directive following a motion sponsored by Senator Munguno Tahir representing Borno North. Senator Alin Dume, representing Borno South, proposed adopting strategies akin to charged special operations to tackle banditry, kidnapping, and the Boko Haram insurgency. Now, in his remarks, Deputy Senate President Barrow Jibrin commended President Bola Tinubu and security forces for their ongoing efforts to curb insecurity. He emphasized the need for collaboration with neighboring countries to strengthen the fight against insurgency.
The Senate notes that for many years, Borno State has been bedeviled by insurgency, with communities facing one form of attack or the other every now and then. Aware that recently relative peace has been restored in Borno State due to efforts of the Nigerian armed forces, which are commendable. However, some communities are still besieged by insecurity, as Gozamala local governments do not have any civil authority in place, no military presence, while Abadam and Marte local government areas need security reinforcement.
The Chadian government led the operation by their president. We are not saying that we should do that, but there should be a special operation because this problem is cancerous and is expanding. We are talking about them in Sokoto, Kebbi now. We are talking about them in Niger. They are going to Plateau. They are growing the second cycle. The main purpose of government is security and welfare of its citizens. It's there in our constitution. We cannot change it. So everything should be focused on security. Because if we say it's Borno today, and we time need to discuss it slightly, saying that we should talk about it in 2 minutes, it will one day get to Kano.
We need to commend our men and women in uniform who are doing their best every day since the beginning of Boko Haram insurgency to secure our areas in Borno and elsewhere, and to also safeguard our people. Some of them have paid the supreme price. Some of them have been injured, and the problem of terrorism is all over the world.
Still Still staying with security, the Defense Headquarters has confirmed the elimination of Manzur Ya Audu, a notorious terrorist commander in the northeast. Speaking in Abuja, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, said the military remains resolute in hunting down terrorists and their collaborators wherever they hide. General Buba emphasized the military's focus on dismantling terror networks, targeting logistics bases, and weakening terrorist capabilities. In the past week, troops neutralized 115 terrorists, arrested 238 suspects, including 51 involved in oil theft, and rescued 138 kidnapped hostages. Now, the military assured Nigerians of its commitment to winning the fight against terrorism while minimizing casualties.
We recorded the surrendering of terrorist combatants and their families, and this was in Kaga local government area of Borno State. Troops also conducted offensive operations, thereby taking the fight to the terrorists, and arrested several terrorist collaborators in Kaga, Konduga, Bama, Jere, Damboa, Chibok, Mafa, and Kukawa local government areas, all of which are in Borno State. Troops successfully repelled terrorist attack in Gujba, local government area of Yobe State. Overall, the troops of Operation Hadinke neutralized 61 terrorists, arrested 34 of them, and rescued 32 kidnapped hostages in the course of operations this week. The troops also recovered one fabricated rifle, 32 AK-47 rifles, 983 rounds of 7.62mm special ammunition, among other weapons and ammunition recovered. Now we can move to the North Central, where we have Operation Safe Haven. The troops of Operation Hadirindaji recorded the following during the period. The troops arrested terrorists and conducted offensive operations, particularly to Jibia, Kankara, and Den Musa local government area of Katsina State, as well as Gerimalam and Safe local government area of Kanu. And it is clear that our focus is on fighting terrorists across the country. We have indeed been striking terrorist enclaves from our air.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has inspected several road projects at the Gwagwalada Area Council of Abuja ahead of their December commissioning date. Now, the minister says that the federal government is committed to investing in infrastructure in a bid to improve the lives of residents in the capital and those staying at far-to-reach communities within the capital. Amadine Uyi reports.
The inspection took officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration to ongoing projects at the Gwagwalada Area Council of Abuja. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, expressed satisfaction at the spate of work seen around.
The government is enjoined to bring development to residents. You can't talk about good governance or impact of government without touching all areas, be it in the city, be it in the satellite town, which you may refer to as the rural areas.
The minister assured those present that the investment in infrastructure by the current government will be a game changer for the country.
By the time these roads are completed and the farmers are now going to farm, it will reduce. So these are part of the strategies, like infrastructure is basic to turn around any economy, any part of the world. If they don't have basic infrastructure, too bad. And that is part of the problems we have had in Abuja here. And we're trying to make sure that we create more infrastructure to open up not just the city, also the rural areas, so that the economy will thrive.
He says that he is not faced by criticism because of his conviction that the current administration will transform the lives of citizens in the country.
Criticism must always be there, and you cannot run away from it. But it's not everything that you have to react. Let the people see for themselves. But I can tell you, before this administration ends this first term, you will see that Nigerians will also say, indeed, things have really changed.
The minister adds that the roads will help farmers and residents in rural communities of the FCT and integrate them into the economy of the city center. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
The federal government has officially terminated its contract with Julius Burger PLC for the construction of the Abuja-Kaduna-Zaria-Kano Road project valued at 740 billion naira. The termination, effective immediately, follows a protracted dispute over project costs, implementation, and delays. Now, the termination letter signed by C.O. Assam, Director of Legal Services at the Federal Ministry of Works, cited Clause 63 of the Standard Condition of Contract, Roadworks, Volume 1, 1999 edition, as the legal basis for the decision. This development comes after the government issued a 14-day termination notice to Julius Burger on November 4, citing non-compliance with revised costs and terms, work stoppage, and refusal to remobilize for the Abuja-Kaduna section of the project. In the statement, Mohammed Ahmed, Director of Press and Public Relations at the ministry, revealed that the decision was reached after months of unresolved issues, adding that the lack of progress necessitated the termination. The ministry emphasized that it is committed to ensuring the project's completion with alternative arrangements. Now let's move to Edo State, where Governor Monday Okpeolo has inaugurated a 12-member committee tasked with retrieving government-owned vehicles reportedly held in private hands across the state. Now, during the ceremony held in Benin City on Thursday, Governor Okpeolo directed the committee to complete its assignment within 2 weeks, ensuring all government vehicles are recovered and returned to the state. Speaking after the inauguration, Committee Chairman Kelly Okumbowa expressed gratitude for the governor's confidence in the team. He assured the public of the committee's commitment to fulfilling its mandate within the stipulated timeline. Okumbowa noted that numerous government vehicles are currently in unauthorized possession, and the committee is determined to ensure their recovery promptly. Nigeria and Singapore have resolved to strengthen bilateral ties between both nations. Now, this was as the second Minister for Education and Foreign Affairs of Singapore visited Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the nation's capital, Abuja, with several officials from Singapore. Now, the minister says that Singapore is interested in exploring new frontiers of growth and development, including Nigeria's emerging focus on renewable energy.
This visit is also to look at new areas of opportunity and growth. We understand that Nigeria is also looking at renewable energy as a new sector, and we're happy to see how best we can continue to connect with our Nigerian counterparts to enhance that relationship. I also extended my invitation to Minister Tuga and Mr. Ujuku to come to Singapore next year to participate in the high-level ministerial visit, which we organize every 2 years for our friends from the African continent, to see more about Singapore, to learn more about Singapore, at the same time to bring a business delegation to Singapore to participate in the Singapore-Africa Business Forum, which takes place every 2 years.
And we also looked at the trade relations existing between us and emphasized the need to further escalate the relationship existing between the two countries, and also to strengthen the economic and trade relations that is existing between us generally, And of course, also we commended the contributions that Singaporean companies are making in the economic sphere in Nigeria in terms of contributing to our GDP. And
Senegal's ruling party, PASTEF, has secured over 3/4 of the parliamentary seats in Sunday's elections, according to provisional results announced on Thursday. PASTEF claimed 130 out of 165 seats in the National Assembly, marking one of the largest majorities ever achieved by a single party in Senegal's legislative history. Now, the previous record was set in 1988 when the Socialist Party won 103 out of 120 seats under then-President Abdou Diouf. If confirmed by the Constitutional Council within 5 days, this victory will provide President Bassirou Diomaye Faye's party with the majority needed to implement its ambitious reform agenda.
Au vu de l'ensemble des procès-verbaux des commissions départementales de recensement des votes, ainsi que des pièces qui leur sont annexées, la Commission nationale de recensement des votes, conformément aux dispositions de LO 193 du Code électoral, proclame les résultats provisoires des élections législatives anticipées du 17 novembre 2024, ainsi qu'il suit. Ont obtenu scrutin départemental, territoire national, région de Dakar, départemental de Dakar, 7 sièges à pourvoir. PASTEF, les Patriotes, 222 675 voix, donc PASTEF remporte les 7 sièges de Dakar. Parti PASTEF, les Patriotes, 1 991 770, 54,97%, obtient 29 sièges.
Kenyan President William Ruto has announced the cancellation of controversial agreements with India's Adani Group while vowing to combat corruption, police kidnappings, and gender-based violence. Delivering his annual State of the Nation address on Thursday amid heightened security around Parliament in Nairobi, Ruto sought to address widespread discontent over multiple national issues. The president also tackled concerns over recent abductions allegedly carried out by security forces in the wake of mass protests against an unpopular finance bill earlier this year. Rights groups have accused the authorities of a brutal crackdown that left over 60 people dead and many abducted, some reportedly tortured or killed. Ruto defended the actions, claiming many of the detentions were legitimate measures against criminals and subversive elements.
Directed agencies within the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum to immediately cancel the ongoing procurement process for JKI expansion public-private partnership transaction, as well as the recently concluded Ketrago transmission in public partnership. And immediately commence the process of onboarding alternative partners, because these are important projects.
Now, away from the continent, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has accused the International Criminal Court of anti-Semitism. Now, this comes as the reaction to the ICC's arrest warrants against him and his former defense minister Yoav Gallant. Then they were both accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity for Israel's action in Gaza, using starvation as a method of warfare, as well as for crimes against humanity, including murder, persecution, and other inhumane acts. The Prime Minister said these in a video message, saying that the ICC has lost its legitimacy as an international legal institution. He added that the warrants will not stop Israel from defending itself when necessary. In response, Netanyahu said that the court was accusing Israel of fictitious crimes while overlooking the real war crimes being committed against Israel and many others.
בית הדין בהאג עושה נגד הפשעים האמיתיים נגד האנושות שמבוצעים במקומות רבים בעולם? גם כן כלום. מיליוני אזרחים חפים מפשע נרצחו או נעקרו מבתיהם באיראן, בסוריה, בתימן, במקומות נוספים. אבל במקום לפעול נגד משטרים אפלים אלה, בית הדין בחר לטפול האשמות שווא דווקא נגד מדינת ישראל. זהו צעד אנטישמי שיש לו מטרה אחת. להרתיע אותנו ממימוש זכותנו הטבעית להגן על עצמנו מול אויבים הקמים עלינו להשמידנו. שום החלטה אנטי-ישראלית מקוממת לא תמנע מאיתנו ולא תמנע ממני להמשיך להגן בכל דרך על המדינה שלנו. לא ניכנע ללחצים.
In business, the Bank of Industry said it has successfully raised a substantial new funding package worth 2 billion euros through global loan syndication to improve its financial capacity and support a wide range of development initiatives. The initiatives include infrastructure, projects, small and medium-sized enterprise growth, and industrial diversification in key economic sectors. The BOI Managing Director, Olashukbo Olusi, disclosed this at a media parley to commemorate the 65th anniversary of the bank on Thursday in Lagos. He said the amount is part of over $5 billion raised from the international capital markets through Euro bonds, loan syndications, and green finance instruments since 2017 to expand its national footprint. South Africa's rand firmed on Thursday after the central bank opted for a modest 25 basis points cut to its main interest rate, bringing it to 7.75% in line with economists' expectations. Analysts had speculated about a possible larger cut after recent data showed inflation fell below the central bank's 3% to 6% target range. However, SARB Governor Lesetja Kganyago dismissed the idea of a 50 BPS cut, citing global risks and emerging domestic price pressures. By 1,602 GMT, the rand had strengthened by about 0.4% to 18.0425 against the dollar. Danny Griff of ETM Analytics noted that a larger rate cut was never really on the cards, given SARB's cautious stance amid new price risks. And now in the world of sports, the National Sports Commission has announced Enugu State as the host of the 23rd edition of the National Sports Festival. The Coal City State emerged top from a competitive bidding process, and the state is set to deliver a world-class event. The National Sports Festival, a biennial festival or multi-sports event, brings together thousands of athletes from Nigeria's 36 states and Federal Capital Territory to celebrate sportsmanship, national unity, and sporting excellence. Before Enugu State takes center stage, the 22nd edition of the festival is set to hold in January 2025 in Ogun State, with the gateway state buzzing with pomp and pageantry as the games draw closer.
For me, it's a huge pleasure to announce this to the world that the chairman of the Sports Commission, on recommendation from the office of the DG and obviously the technocrats at the Sports Commission, have agreed that the next host of the National Sports Festival, the 23rd National Sports Festival, would be Enugu State.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, here's another look at some of our top stories. We told you that Appeal Court nullifies High Court ruling on Rivers local government polls. We also told you that National Assembly approves life imprisonment for drug offenders. Finally, you heard that ruling party wins over 3/4 of seats in Senegal's parliamentary election. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.